Today we're going to talk about parallel lines and angle pairs. So when you have parallel lines, not just any two lines, but parallel lines, and are cut by a transversal, we have some pairs of angles that are congruent. So corresponding angles are congruent. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. And then consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So if we look here at this situation that we have the two lines and see these arrows right here, that means that they are parallel. Okay, this is the symbol that shows that the lines are parallel. Okay, so what if we remind ourselves what corresponding angles are and look at this picture here, then we can see it's pretty obvious that they are congruent, or they look like they're the same size too. And this is a postulate that says that says corresponding angle, the corresponding angles are congruent. That's a postulate, so we don't have to prove it. But so here's angle 1 and angle 5 are a pair of corresponding angles, and see how they're both obtuse, okay? And angle 3 is vertical to angle 1, and its corresponding angles, angle 7, which is also vertical to angle 5. So all 4 of these angles are going to be congruent. Angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles, and angle 8 and angle 4 are corresponding angles. And they're also vertical to the other pair of corresponding angles that are congruent. So once you know the measure of one of these angles, you can easily figure out all the rest of them. So I'm going to write here just an example for each one. So I'm going to write angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, and those are corresponding angles. Alternate interior angles, angle 4 and angle 6. And alternate exterior, angle 2 and 7. So remember, we have 4 pairs of corresponding angles. I just wasn't listing them all out. Are y'all okay with that? You know where they are? So nobody's responding, so hopefully you guys, except for y'all, thank you. I don't see very many photos, very many videos on. Let's turn on your videos. If you're in the room here with me, you do not have to have your video on, but if you're at home, please do. Okay, so anyway, and the consecutive interior angles that are supplementary, that would be like angle 4 and 5. And see how one of them's acute and one's obtuse? So they're definitely not equal. So I'm going to write here angle 4, the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180. So when you are looking at these angles and the situations that are here, you're either going to say that they are congruent or supplementary.
Is there something else I can...
My phone went off. Okay, let me turn it off. I mean, silent. Any questions so far? Okay, so based on this, these rules right here, everything that we're going to do today is based on those. Okay, so knowing the angle pair and knowing if they're congruent or supplementary. Okay, so look here at this figure, and if they tell us that angle 9 is 80 and angle 5 is 68, and define the rest of them and tell what postulate or theorem is used. So like right here, 80 and angle 5 is 68. Okay, so I have a pair of parallel lines. See this right here? These are parallel, but these are not. But they're two different transversals. And so we need to make sure that we pay attention to what lines are parallel and what the transversals are. Because this intersection here is going to be related to this intersection here because it's the transversal across the two parallel lines. If we're going to talk about angles being congruent or supplementary. So this is a transversal across P and Q, but those two lines are not parallel. So those congruence and supplementary relationships are not going to be true. And then this intersection and this intersection are going to be related. All right, so if angle 9 is 80, we can literally say that its corresponding angle is 80, and its vertical angles are 80, and its corresponding angle is 80. And you can really fill out the whole thing. So if angle 9 is 80, I know, well, for sure the vertical angle is. So angle 11 is also 80. And now just being really careful that you go over to this intersection and not to this one, okay? Because these two groups are not related with those equations. These are related in just the term of the angle pair name, but not in the congruence or supplementary. So we have to go this way. Okay, so 80, oops. So angle 1 is 80 because it corresponds. So I'm saying which one they are. I'm not really writing them down, but you guys would write corresponding angles or vertical angles. Okay? So angle 3 is corresponding to angle 11 and vertical to angle 1. Okay, so now let's look at angle 2. Well, if you look at this right here, this is a linear pair, and linear pairs are supplementary. Okay, those are supplementary angles. So we know we can take 180 minus 80 and get 100, and we're going to have our 100 is our angle. So that means its vertical angle is 100 and its corresponding angle is 100 and its vertical or corresponding to angle 4 is 100. So all of these angles are already figured out. So all you have to know is one of the 8 angles and you can figure out all the other angles. So if this is angle 5 is 68, angle 13 is 68, and angle 15 is 68, and angle 7 is 68. Okay, so now we do 180 minus 68 to find out 112. That angle, all the other angles are 112. Any questions? Okay, so let's just have an example. So here I have this, this picture, and I see that it has a pair of parallel lines. So I know that corresponding angles are congruent, alternate interior, all those relationships. And I want to solve for x and for y. So the first thing I'm going to see is my x here and my x here, and I see that they're both on the parallel line. So even if I were to extend these lines out, it might help me see it clearer. Okay, so this angle and this angle are corresponding angles. So I can write the equations. Since congruent angles all have equal measures, I literally put an equal sign between those algebraic expressions. So 5x minus 5 equals 4x plus 10. And I can solve for x. So if I subtract 4, I get x, and if I add 5, I get 15. So x is 15. Then, to solve for the y, I know that these two angles are supplementary because they are consecutive interior angles. Okay, so I can say 4x plus 10 plus 6y minus 4 equals 180. So you're either going to set them equal or add them up to equal 180 right now. Okay, so I know that 15 goes with my with my x, and so I'm going to go ahead and set that in to make it so I have one variable and I can solve for it better. So 4 times 15 is 30, 60, plus 10 minus 4, or plus 6y minus 4 equals 180. Remember, we're not going to do any of the opposite signs when you're on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to combine all these. So 60, 70 minus 4 is 66. Okay, and we subtract 180, subtract 66 from 180, 114. So I have 114 equals 6y, and then 114 divided by 6. 19, awesome, thank you. Y equals 19. So we've solved for our x and our y. So you either set them equal or you're going to add them up to 180, and even just by looking at the size of their angle, this is obtuse, this is acute, you know they're not equal, so they have to be supplementary. So let's do one more. So I have this figure here. And look for my x's because I usually just solve for x's first. Here's an x and here's an x. And they are consecutive interior. This is obtuse, this is acute. In our situation here, the angles are either going to be equal or they're supplementary. Okay? So these are not equal, so they have to be supplementary. And you can always extend out the line to help you see it better. And this is that U in fun, in that fun way to remember. So I have 15x plus 30 plus 10x equals 180. So we have 25x plus 30 equals 180. Subtract 30, 25x equals 150. X equals, so there's 6 quarters in $1.50. So I got my x, and now my y's right here, and it is supplementary to this one, not over here, okay? These two are not supplementary because these lines are not marked parallel, okay? If this were a parallelogram, that'd be different, but it's not. So we're going to use these two together, and again, they're supplementary. We also know that these aren't in general equal, but when you have a 90 here, we know they're going to be equal. But we're going to set it up with setting it equal to 180 anyway, because that's always true. So I have 90 plus 3y plus 18 equals 180. And then I subtract, or let's make this 108. Subtract 108, 72, divided by 3. Anybody got that? 24. All right. Okay. Any questions?